In this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul, Tsukiyama returns to haunt your dreams, and he brings with him a big badass bag of action scenes. This was definitely the best episode of the series thus far. We got to learn a little bit more about the ghouls. There were a lot of standout action scenes. We got to see the returns of some one-shot villains like Nishiki, who I thought was deader than shit, and they managed to weave it into the story and make it feel natural, and you actually managed to start caring about that character a little bit, and you start to hate Tsukiyama all the more. The guy is one of the most perverted, disgusting villains I've seen in almost any series, and that's only because his main goal is to eat Kaneki, but only as he's eating another human at the same time, and in a church. What the hell? So with all the blood-spewing action and badass action scenes, you think that'd probably be one of my favorite things about this week's episode. Believe it or not, I loved the development that Touka got this week. She's definitely the standout female lead of the series, and they make it explicitly clear that at some earlier point in the series, she was a cold-hearted badass, and over time, she sort of softened up a little bit, even though she's still pretty damn hardcore, and she does a lot of great things this week, even though Tsukiyama does seem to have the upper hand in the battle for the most part. But in the beginning of the episode, you get to see how incredibly dedicated she is to her friends, and there's a scene where she stays home sick from school, and her friend comes to visit her, and she brings her some food. And this scene is funny for a number of reasons. One, she thinks that Touka's about to get laid, and she gives her good luck. And two, Touka takes this food and decides to eat it anyway, which she could have easily just thrown it away and just said that she ate it, but no, she's so dedicated that she's going to eat this stuff and throw it up later, and it'll probably just make her feel like crap. But this is an important part of the episode, too, because we also get to learn that apparently ghouls are at their strongest when they're actually eating human flesh, especially a lot of it, and that in and of itself is incredibly disturbing. And this all leads to this scene at the end where Tsukiyama has sort of like led Kaneki to this weird church so he can plan on eating him while he's eating another person. And the person that he kidnapped is actually the girlfriend of Nishiki, and he's the villain who you saw in the beginning of the series, and I thought he was dead, man. I did not imagine he would come back because Kaneki freaking filleted his ass, and there was blood spewing all over the place, but apparently he survived on just drinking coffee, and he was living with this human girl at the time, which is kind of strange. He just sort of, like, was attracted to her for some reason, and they had a pretty strong relationship, and there was a point after he was defeated by Kaneki where she found out that he was a ghoul, and she actually, like, offered, like, her shoulder to him, and he, like, immediately started to bite down on this, but then he, like, pulled himself away, and this is great because it sort of makes him seem a little more human at this point, and, of course, it gives a little more development to his character. Not only that, but there's like a whole backstory all about Nishiki, about how he lived with his sister, who was also a ghoul, in this wooden shanty, and how she did all the hunting for them. And then in one strange incident, she was just killed. It's really strange, and there's so much going on this week, but it all leads to this massive action scene where Touka, Kaneki, and Nishiki arrive in this church where Tsukiyama is. And this is great because we finally get to see some of his fighting abilities. And at first, he just takes out Nishiki with one badass uppercut, which you could totally apply the Street Fighter 2 sound effect to. You know, the Kaneki gets a few licks in, but for the most part, he gets his ass kicked this week. And Touka does a few cool things, but like I said, she really isn't at full power quite yet. Nishiki gets pissed off and does try to attack him a little bit, but Tsukiyama's powers are ridiculous, especially his weird, spirally, weird, wiggly, demon, ghouly thing. I'm not really sure what the hell those things are called. I think they're referred to as the Kagune, like each like ghoul has like their own Kagune power, whether it be like weird tentacles or like his weird spiral thing or Touka's weird fire demon shit erupting from her back, which is definitely the best part about this week's episode, because at the end, Kaneki realizes that Nishiki bit her shoulder and he became really strong, so he asks Touka how strong she was like years ago, and apparently her and Tsukiyama were on the same level, so Kaneki allows Touka to bite his shoulder, and then she starts to power up with that weird shit just coming out of her back, and it's really ominous, and it's really great, and it's a great cliffhanger ending, and I cannot wait to see next episode. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul? It was awesome. Like I said, I think this is my favorite episode of the series thus far, and a lot of that has to do with just little things that we learned about the ghouls a little bit more, how they need to eat human flesh in order to be stronger. Other than that, I loved the animation, the artwork, and the action scenes, especially when they got to the church, which was a very creepy and ominous setting, and it just made Tsukiyama all the more fucked up. He is a really great villain, because he's the type of villain that you just hate. There's really almost nothing likable about him, and you want to see him get defeated. And I don't know if Touka's going to be the one to really finish him off, or maybe Kaneki's going to get involved. I mean, we're 5 episodes into the series, and the dude still doesn't have his mask. What's up with that? I want to see his mask. It looks so freaking creepy and awesome. Not only that, but there's still a lot of other things they still haven't even gotten back to with the doves and the Jason dude, which I'm really, really waiting to see. Otherwise, just everything was just really good this week. There was great development for every character, especially Touka in the beginning of the episode and at the end. She was really what sort of bookended this week. Nishiki returning. I did not see that coming at all, and that's only because I just thought he was dead. They made it pretty explicitly clear. Maybe it's because they censored it with that weird negative color filter that you really couldn't tell, but I saw blood spewing all over the place. I expected the dude to be dead, but whatever. Ghouls, I guess, just, you know, their healing factor is probably a lot better. They're like little mini Wolverines. But anywho, great episode. I'm really pumped for next week's episode. I hope they don't let us down, because the production value this week was good. All the fight choreography was great. Tsukiyama was really brutal, especially that scene where he broke Kaneki's arm. That was messed up. Otherwise, fantastic episode with a lot of development, a ton of atmosphere, and it's allowing me to really just start to enjoy this series a lot more. I know a lot of the commenters have said that in the manga version, they've skipped ahead quite a bit. As someone who does not read the manga, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's because I really don't know what's going to happen. You know, so just try to remember, this is the anime version, not the manga version. Let's try to take this for what it is and just enjoy it for what it is. I can say that this week's episode was awesome. So there it is. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 this week. I thought it was just really fantastic. It was a little sloppy in some places, but for the most part, this was just a fantastic episode of the series that you should check out. Thank you guys for watching my review today. Before you leave, make sure to hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. And please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Tokyo Ghoul. Do you think Touka is going to be able to take on Tsukiyama in next week's episode? Remember guys, you can also subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links for those in the description box below.
Do you like Amazon.com? I know I do. Corey and I now have an Amazon link in our video description box below. And if you go to it and buy anything through Amazon.com, it will support our channel. So bookmark that link, make it happen, and support our channel without having to do a damn thing.
Another great way you guys can help support our channel is by donating directly through our PayPal link in the description box below. We recommend $2 a month, although this is completely optional. But the best way to go about this is by sneaking into your mom's room and taking $2. This way, she won't even notice. And we won't have to shake you up for all of your lunch money. So guys, that concludes this review today. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.